What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Turford, the man on the moose, and welcome back to Greatness Begins, the PlayStation 1 show where I tell you all about my favorite 50 PlayStation 1 games of all time. Let me know, of course, what you think about today's games in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our channel already over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Also, ding, 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 ring that bell to get notifications for any videos that go up on our channel. Also, don't forget to rate us on iTunes or Spotify if you're listening there, and don't forget to subscribe on your audio feed of choice. And last but not least, if you want some early access and some exclusive content, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Throw a little tip in the tip jar and out comes content. And today, friends, I'm excited to talk about today's game because I love music games. I've talked about it before on the Roundabout, which was our Xbox 360 show, or the Crossroads, which was our original Xbox show. I always made sure to include, music games on the list because I just love rhythm games. And not only that, but I think they actually hold up really well, or at least a lot of them do. So I definitely think that they're really worth taking a look at again, especially if you're collecting older games from older consoles. And today's game is no different. In fact, we actually will be talking about another rhythm game probably in the next, couple weeks or so, and I'm very excited to talk about that game too. And there are going to be some missing, unfortunately, like something like Parappa the Rapper. As much as I love, the original Parappa Rapper, I think it's a great game, but I think the PlayStation 1 version has some things that don't really hold up super well, especially if you're going to play it on a modern television or something like that. You really have to play that game on a CRT, and even then, it's like it's not, as fun to go back to, I think, as probably the effort that you're going to probably put into to play that game properly. But a game that holds up much better from the exact same creators as Parappa the Rapper, and it's kind of like its unofficial sequel anyways. Jammer Lammy is today's game. You actually, in this game, star Lammy, who's a lamb, and she's in a band, and basically she dreams of, playing in all the big shows and just, living the musical dream, essentially, is what Lammy's all about. And that's essentially what you do in this game. Again, it's very similar to Parappa the Rapper, where, the campaign itself is split up into a bunch of different levels, and each level you're playing along with a teacher, essentially, or a mentor, some other person that's essentially doing a lot of the singing. And basically, as the other person's singing, then you'll have a bunch of notes come by, and you have to play them in order. Very similar to, again, something like Parappa the Rapper, or if you haven't played that game, but you've played, other modern rhythm games like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, it's very similar to that as well. In fact, there's actually an arcade version of Jammer Lammy that Sony actually put out later that actually has a guitar controller, which was pretty cool. Unfortunately, we never got that in the console version of the game, which would have been awesome. In fact, the only game that really has a guitar controller on the PlayStation 1 is Guitar Freaks by Konami, which is also a really fun game. Unfortunately, I'm not including it here just because, again, the expense of trying to get a hold of that game nowadays, it's not cheap. So, it's not really a good option for a lot of people. Combined with the fact that I think it's a good game, but has some of the pitfalls that Parappa falls into a little bit. So, I personally love rock music, and Jammer Lammy is definitely, I think, the superior version of these two games. But I think that's also going to come down to taste as well. Because, obviously, if you're more into hip hop, Parappa is going to be a little bit more your jam. But I don't know. I love from the original songs that are in Jammer Lammy to the style of humor to even like the animation style and the fact that the visuals just pop much more, I think, in this game versus Parappa, because it is a newer game. It came out towards the end of the PlayStation 1 life cycle. I think this game's awesome. I love going back to it. I love, playing through the songs. It's not a very long game. You can play it in an afternoon. But I can guarantee, even though you'll play through this game in an afternoon and it'll be like a shorter play session, you're just going to have a lot of fun doing it. And I definitely think it's well worth the price of admission and definitely worth checking out for sure if you haven't actually played this game before. And again, I feel like the timing of the buttons, you still might run into some problems if you aren't playing on a CRT. But if you use something like the RetroTink 2X and play on the PlayStation 2, I've always found great success with that. I would recommend playing this on PlayStation 3. You can definitely go down that road, but I would probably recommend a PS2 with a RetroTink, or just connecting it via like component cables or something like that to your television and going that route. I think is probably the cleanest experience with a game like this, like a rhythm game like this, outside of, getting a CRT at this point. But again, most people live in apartments like me or just small spaces and don't have room for CRTs essentially in their houses. But yeah, other than that, I mean, again, I'm going to kind of keep this short because I think Jammer Lammy is a fantastic game. Again, the songs are great. Story is great. I love the story of Lemmy and her band and how she's a little bit shy, and you play through some dream sequences as well. There was also some changes to the story as well between the Japanese version and the North American version, because in the Japanese version there's a level that takes place in hell, but they removed that in the North American version and changed it to Lemmy essentially getting falling out of a plane and landing on a volcano essentially, instead of dying and going to hell. So I don't know if that was an amazing change, but it was a change that didn't feel out of place when I first played it, and I didn't even realize it was any different until doing research for this video, believe it or not. So that's how it fits into the game, even with the changes. But yeah, otherwise, I think Um Jammer Lammy, a really fun game. If you love music games, if you like rock music, if you like, Guitar Hero and stuff like that, or Rock Band, and you don't mind playing with a controller, like, this game's awesome. I recommend checking this out. I think it's great. So you can definitely check it out, but you will need to play it on probably a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 1, and you will need to track down a disc, unfortunately. But hopefully, this is one of those games that I just really hope either A, gets kind of like an HD port, kind of like Parappa did, although that one didn't sell super well, so maybe that's the reason we haven't seen this yet. Or I just hope a game like this comes to the PlayStation Plus service, because I think this is a game that a lot more people would probably talk about if they just had a chance to play it. I know it was a game that didn't sell super well when it came out, because again, it was, it came out close to 2001 when we were already kind of seeing the PlayStation 2 on the horizon anyway. So I think a lot of people just skipped over this game. But it's definitely, again, a game that's definitely worth your time if you haven't checked it out. Well, what do you think about Jammer Lammy? Have you played it? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, on YouTube at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, on podcast services around the globe. So that's it for this episode of Greatness Begins. I'm Ryan Turford. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I'm out.